And a fellow says the following. He says, Bill spends half his time insulting his 7 loyal viewers. Not very compassionate. It's called gaslighting. No school would tolerate such behavior from a teacher. Uh-huh. And gaslighting comes from, it was a play originally, then they made a movie in Great Britain, another one 4 years later in Hollywood. In fact, Ingrid Bergman won her no, her Oscar for Gaslight, and it has to do with a fellow who tries to drive his wife crazy to get some jewels and some money. Okay, and so he makes her believe, you know what is not real, and that's essentially there you see the definition, manipulate someone by psychological means into doubting their own sanity. Okay, so that's essentially what gaslighting is. He's saying, I'm gaslighting, I'm leading you to believe what is not real, and somehow I'm misleading you, fooling you, or whatever. Okay, so let's look at a little bit of that. First of all, here's another person who said the following, says, Galileo was ridiculed. Okay, and yeah, he proposed that there were 4 other moons that no one had seen before. He saw them through his telescope. And the bishops, the cardinals of Rome, said, well, they're not in the Bible, in the book, in the good book. So we don't believe you, you know. And so they ridicule him. And all I want to tell you is, uh, in so-called science, physics, even in, you could say in philosophy, a lot of that gets mixed up with physics. For the last 3,000 years, people have been laughing at each other. Half the world laughs at the other half. You have the Hindus, they laugh at the Buddhists laugh at the Muslims at the Christians at all of them, and they all laugh back. It's very common to ridicule and laugh at those people who don't have opinions or theories like yours. And so this is very common, and nothing has changed in the last 3,000 years. Here, let me give you some examples. Okay, let's go through that so that we make sure we cover all these bases. Here's the first one. Okay, this is Mr. John Baez, and he created the Crackpot Index at UC Riverside. It's been there for the last 25 years. Says these are just 3 of the items taken out of that Crackpot Index. Some of you are familiar with it. First one there, number 11, says 10 points for each claim that quantum mechanics is fundamentally misguided. Then the next one says 10 points for arguing that while the current well-established theory predicts phenomena correctly, it doesn't explain why they occur or fails to provide a mechanism.
That's on there?
Yeah, you would think that is supposed to be what physics is about.
Yeah.
And this gentleman, he's there at the UC Riverside. He's a professor there, and he says that apparently in his mind, or what he learned in school, that's not part of the scientific method. Okay, are we okay there?
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting errors from YouTube as usual. I don't know why. Anyways, and then the last one there, 10 points for each claim that special or general relativity are fundamentally misguided. Again, what I want you to notice here is that this is from UCI, University of California at Riverside, okay? And, what I want you to understand is you're paying taxes, and Riverside is partly maintained by government funds. So you're paying for these people to have on their website officially for the last 25 years these this crackpot index, and they'll use it against you, and they'll ridicule you, and you're paying to get ridiculed. Maybe you don't agree with general relativity, with space time. Maybe you don't agree with quantum mechanics. And here they're saying if you don't agree, well, you're a poo poo. That's essentially it. So you're paying for that. So think about that. Yeah, they do ridicule you in science.
So if a little kid comes up to that guy and asks, how do 2 magnets attract each other? He says, you're a crackpot, kid. You're asking the wrong questions.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll get to that. In fact, that's the subject matter of the science critic. Here's another one, okay, so that you can collect them. Okay, here's number 2. It says John Rennie, and he talks about the laws of credibility. Now, it's important to know that John Rennie is a big shot up there. He created the Stack Exchange, and you can look it up. That's a primary scientific or physics, mathematical physics, right, site that people check regularly. And he's also in charge of some magazines. He was editor in several magazines, so he's a big shot up there. He's got censorship power. And this is what he says, okay? He says, scientists don't always know best about matters of science, but they're more likely to be right than the critics who make that argument. Uh-huh. So if you're a critic and you criticize officialdom, mainstream, well, then you're not going to be right. Okay, they're going to be right. And he's got these two corollaries to the law of credibility. And the first one says, the first job of any scientific fraud is to persuade the public that science is itself unscientific. It turns out that they have all these irrational explanations from quantum mechanics, general relativity, and string theory. They tell you in your face, the mainstreamers. They tell you they themselves do not understand them. But here they say that if you criticize and say that's unscientific because it doesn't make any sense, then they say that you're a fraud. And then the second corollary to the law of credibility is any iconoclast with a scientifically unorthodox view, okay, you might be a dissident, right, who reminds you that Galileo was persecuted too, ain't Galileo. Okay, so there are no more Galileos. Okay, that's what he's saying. What's interesting that he talks about the law of credibility and the corollaries of credibility. And credibility, I think it's got to do with what you believe in. Sounds like religion to me. It doesn't sound like anything related to science.
Sounds like authority.
Yeah, and tradition and democracy. You know how many people voted for your theory? So yeah, none of that has anything to do with science. But this is what Rennie was brainwashed to believe in high school and college. Okay? But this is how they trash you. They insult you. They ridicule you. They're allowed to do it. But here, this fellow says, Bill, you're a bully. Look how you're treating all your followers or the non-followers, the visitors and so on. Okay?
I think you just built up too much resentment for all the times you were called a crackpot.
Well, no, I'm just playing the game the way everybody else plays it. So please don't pick on me. If you're going to do something, go to Riverside and ask them to take the Crackpot Index out of there because you're paying taxes. Those taxes are used to support the university, and they're using that to trash you because you don't believe in quantum mechanics or general relativity. That's where you should start, not beat up on me, a little old me. I'm a nobody, in comparison. Okay. And here's a final example. Here's John Horgan. He's a newsman. He also teaches at one of the universities out there, but he's a reporter primarily. He writes, I think, for the New York Times and other prominent magazines. He says science and common sense should be compatible. He argues that modern physics, mathematical physics, somehow is unintuitive. It's not. It doesn't make sense. And here we have a so-called physicist, mathematical physicist, okay, from Stanford University. And he says the following, he answers as follows. He says, whose common sense? John Horgan's, admittedly a non-scientist, I presume. Instead of dyspeptically railing against what he plainly does not understand, Horgan would do better to take a few courses in algebra, calculus, etc., etc. Modern science is difficult and often counterintuitive. Where intuition and common sense failed, they had to create new forms of intuition, mainly through the use of abstract mathematics. When common sense fails, uncommon sense must be created. Okay? That was his answer. So, yeah, all these people trash, ridicule, and belittle anyone who comes up against them. They have the power because they have all these think tanks. Every university is filled with them. They receive millions, I would say even $1 billion if you look at all the universities on the planet. They receive money from governments, from private individuals who donate money to them. You have all these centers, the Princeton Center there, you have MIT, Caltech. They're all over the planet, in Russia, in China, everywhere, and they all believe in the same thing. They're at every university on the planet. And they will trash you. They will ridicule you if you dare raise a finger against general relativity, quantum mechanics, or string theory, which they admittedly, they admit that they do not understand, that they cannot explain.
I mean, it is kind of suspicious that they would ridicule people instead of. I mean, even you take flat earthers seriously enough to debate them.
Yeah, but they don't.
They don't.
They don't even. They will not even bother with electric universe, flat earth, and so on. I mean, they will not analyze
what they
do
is dehumanizing in a way. You at least take other people's criticisms into consideration. Like, okay, maybe there's something to this, or maybe you think it's dumb, but you investigate it and challenge it. You don't just throw it away.
Right. I answer the questions as best as I can. So if a flat earther comes over, I might trash him, but I will answer. But I will answer him if it's an important. If it's an important issue, I'll raise it. I'll bring it up here. I'll put it under flat Earth. I'll ridicule the guy, but I will answer. Well, the other people, they do not even. They don't even bother answering. They don't even take them seriously.
Okay, but they have better things to do, like indoctrinate more people.
Yeah, I guess they do. They
don't have the time.
But my point is, ridicule and bashing has been around for 3,000 years.
It's part of the game.
If you do not have the stomach for it, I strongly suggest that you do not abandon your job at the bus stop, cleaning latrines.
I mean, you shouldn't do that if you had stomach for it anyway.
I mean, if you don't have the stomach for it, you're in the wrong field. This is a trashing, ridiculing field. And if
as
you don't
long
know
as we
that,
get to the point. because if there's no point, you're just trashing, then you're
Yeah.
wasting your time.
Well, again, after 20 years that I've been doing this, none of those, I've got a very thick skin, so none of that hurts me anymore. But it shouldn't hurt you. If it does hurt you, you have a problem. You got to see your shrink, okay? You're in the wrong field. So here I'll give you how we treat people here, okay? Here it is. This is the motto of the bgaede School of Physics. We teach with a baseball bat, okay? So if you say something which is dumb, uh,
Rolling
I,
pin works too, I guess.
yeah, well, the baseball bat's too long, so I use my dough roller. Okay, so just be aware. Yeah, we're not going to be kind to you if you bring nonsense over here. Okay, so just make sure you feel at home. If I say something that offends you, just take it in a different way. That's the way I look at it. We do not insult anyone. We treat everyone with the respect that they deserve.